Hello everybody and welcome back to another Logan Blackman Show YouTube video. Hope you all have had a fantastic couple days since the last time we have spoken to each other. And as you can probably tell by the title, in this one we are back to American football. We're back to American football and we are revealing the consensus top 10 quarterbacks for the 2026 NFL season. Before we get into any of that, let's go over all the housekeeping items first. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Here's the numbers again, the statistics, all of that great stuff, which we're going to talk about a lot, statistics, today on this show. But make sure as well to leave a thumbs up on this video if you're already enjoying it. But if you're not a trusting individual, I do not blame you. Wait till the very end of the video and I'll remind you there. But if you still didn't like the video, leave a comment down below. And if you did like the video, leave a comment down below and let me know all your different thoughts. Loved, hated it, whatever, what your top 10 quarterback list is. Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, make sure to check out all the different links in the description, all the different links to social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all those great places. You can also check out the blog post on the LoganBlackmanShow.com. There will be a link to this specific blog in the description, so make sure to click on that. And also check out the Apple Podcasts and Spotify account. Subscribe to those. Leave a 5-star rating on those as well. But ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are here for the 2026 TLBS, the Logan Blackman Show, staff rankings for the 2026. I guess I just repeated 2026. Whatever. That's not important. I'm just excited for this video. And because I'm so excited, I thought I'd wear the jersey of the greatest Patriot quarterback of all time, Drew Bledsoe. So we're here. We're live at some point in time. And this is it's just such a fun thing to do. This is, I believe, the 4th or 5th year I've done this. Sorry. And it's just fun to hear everybody's different opinions about what their top 10 list is. And for those of you who aren't familiar with what we're doing here, so I shoot out a message to people. I say, hey, like, congratulations, you've been selected to participate in the 2026 NFL quarterback rankings for the TLB. You've been selected as one of the TLBS staff members. Please submit your list by this date at this time. And then we're going to have a blog post and we'll do it combined. So if you ranked, let's say, Nathan Peterman number 1, Nathan Peterman will receive 10 points towards his grand total. Second place will receive 9, third place 8, fourth, 7th, and so on and so forth. And then we combine them all, tally up their points, and we get a consensus top 10. And this year's list, we had the most people ever submit list. 22 people submitted list. So if you're one of those people who submitted a list, give yourself a round of applause. Give yourself a round of applause. And make sure to like this video as well, so I know you watched this video. So make sure to do that as well, or leave a comment down below if you were one of the 22 people that submitted. Well, I guess one of the 21, because I do submit a list. And we'll reveal individual lists at the end, and we'll reveal my individual list at the end as well. But there were 16 different quarterbacks mentioned, and the only ones that's tied are the two at the very bottom of the list. And I say 16, I just double checked. It's 17 quarterbacks were mentioned, but we had 18 quarterbacks mentioned. I guess I'm all over the place. I'm absolutely all over the place, but there are 18 different quarterbacks mentioned. There's a tie for 17th in this last place position, and that is Baker Mayfield, who received 7 points. Sorry, my numbers are all jacked up. 7 out of a possible 220 points, and Jaden Daniels of the Washington Commanders. Both people were on list twice. Both people were in 6th place and 9th place. Those are the only 2 spots. They were on 2 people's list the entire time. And starting with Baker Mayfield, he's definitely an interesting one. Because if you were doing this list at the middle portion of last season, Baker Mayfield would have been pretty consensusly in everybody's top 10 list because he was having like a dark horse MVP type season. Was he actually going to go on to win the MVP? Probably not, but you saw the numbers that he was putting up at the midway point of the season. Baker Mayfield had 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. The Buccaneers were 6-2 at that time. Now, he ended the season with 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So you can do the math on that, but if you can't do math, I'll help you out here. He had 13 touchdowns in the last 9 games of the season with 11 interceptions. The Buccaneers, as I said, started 6-2. They ended the season at 8-9. They went 2-7 their last 9 games of the season. So the drop-off from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, after that bye week, or post-October, I guess you could say, is kind of ridiculous how crazy he dropped off. But I do think Baker Mayfield, I didn't personally have him in my top 10 list, but if you were to have him in and around your top 10 list, whether it be towards the bottom of it, I wouldn't look at you badly, because there was a point in time last season where he was really one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now there's a big contract dispute. He feels disrespected by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers about their contract. He feels like he's earned the contract. Yeah, he comes in at number 17, joint 17, and Jaden Daniels, this is just the season from hell. Literally the season from hell. Like, he had a left knee injury in week 2, kept him out for a couple games. He had a hamstring injury in, I think, week 7, which kept him out for a couple games. Then he had the dislocated elbow injury against the Seahawks when they were already down 38-7. Like a very Derrick Rose versus the Philadelphia 76ers ACL moment right there. Like, why the hell is he in the game right now? Some dickhead on the sideline needs to take your freaking helmet and say, you're not playing anymore. The same thing that should have happened to RG3 all those years ago, ironically, against the Seattle Seahawks. But then he goes again. He plays later in the season against the Minnesota Vikings. He's out a couple weeks, or I think he missed 3 games or something like that. There was a bye week in there. He comes back against the Vikings, and he injures his elbow again. He throws an interception, he gets pushed over on the return, and he injures his elbow again. So he played a grand total of 7 games. He had 3 different injuries throughout the course of the season, but the elbow injury was so avoidable. He shouldn't have been in at that point in time. Like, why the hell is he in? And furthermore, you're not going to the playoffs anyways. Like, I can't remember what their record was at that time. He finished 5-12. You're not going to the playoffs whether Jane Daniels is in there or not at this point in the season. So just cap him off and say, hey, dude, rest, get ready for next season. That's what we're going to need you to do. His rookie year was one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. Like, statistically, he was out of this world, broke records for rushing yards for quarterbacks and stuff like that. And then he led the Commanders all the way to the NFC Championship game. Was it the greatest game of all time against the Eagles? No, but his rookie year was fantastic. Again, one of the greatest rookie seasons of all time. So if you have him in the top 10, I completely understand, because he only played 7 games. The only reason his numbers aren't as like superstar as what they were his rookie year is because of the injuries. He played 7 games, still put up decent numbers, but the elbow injury, it's just what do you want to call it? Malpractice from the Washington Commanders to send your quarterback out there after he shouldn't have been in this position anyways, and then you send him back out there later in the year. I don't care if he says he wants to play or if he can play. He's not. You need to be in charge of him, because every single one of those players, I shouldn't say every single one, because we got Anthony Richardson tapping himself out of games and stuff like that, but most players in the NFL would want to continue playing, regardless if they're hurt or not. They're going to lie about injuries. So Jane Daniels, and again, at that point, as he was week 14 when he got hurt against the Vikings, he shouldn't have been in. So if you had Jane Daniels your top 10, perfectly understandable. If you rank him higher than the likes of Drake May and Caleb Williams at this point in time, I wouldn't think that's crazy either. I didn't have him in the top 10 because he only played 7 games, but the peak of Jaden Daniels, the best version of Jaden Daniels, is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I hope that he can stay healthy this upcoming season and get away from Brandon Ayuk. I don't know what the hell's going on in that situation, or if he's really wanting him there. I understand they play together at Arizona State, but that situation is a mess, and we'll talk about Brandon Ayuk here in a little bit. But number 16 on this list is Trevor Lawrence, top 5 MVP candidate. The complete 180 from the season prior to this year. Trevor Lawrence was injured a lot the 2 years ago with Doug Peterson. They finished 4-13, and then this past year they finished 13-4. They win their division. They're one of the best, most fun offenses in the NFL with really no weapons on the outside. Yes, you had Brian Thomas exploding his rookie year, but he plummeted straight back down to earth his second year. Did not have a great year. I was praying the Bills would try to send like a little, hey, this dude sucks trade and try to get him on buy low situation, because I like Brian Thomas. His rookie year was awesome. His time at LSU with Malik Neighbors and Jane Daniels was awesome as well. So I was hoping they could throw a little bit of a flyer in there, but alas, they did not do that. But Parker Washington really stepped up for the Jaguars last year. Jacoby Myers coming in as well. You got Travis Etienne going back to 1,000 yards, which we hadn't seen the previous year. And Liam Cohen and Greg Udinski, just the combination of those two was just so great for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Liam Cohen's really one of the best play callers in the NFL, and Grant Udinski is one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the NFL. The Bills were linked with him quite a bit throughout the offseason. They interviewed him for the head coaching job before they hired Joe Brady, but Grant Udinski's got a very promising future. And Trevor Lawrence, really solid numbers this year. Nothing like otherworldly, but some of the throws that he was making throughout the course of the season were fantastic. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised he's as low as he is, but I think there's still people out there that are waiting to see if this is sustainable from Trevor Lawrence, because when he got drafted, it was generational. It's the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. We just need to see it play more consistently. So I understand if people didn't have him in the top 10. Again, I didn't personally have him in the top 10, but I thought he would be a little bit higher based on the season that he had last year. And number 15 on this list was Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos, was as high as 6th in this list. And he is a guy that doesn't get... It's kind of interesting to see the variations of what the opinions of Bo Nix are. Like, if I'm saying what Bo Nix is, I think Bo Nix is a very solid quarterback. I think he's perfect for what Sean Payton does. He led the league in pass attempts this last season. He wanted 2 quarterbacks to have 600 or more pass attempts last season. And we'll get to the other guy here in a little bit. But Bo Nix is just, he's good at things. I don't know if I would necessarily say he's great at anything, but you're gonna get what you see from Bo Nix is what you're gonna get, which is something you weren't expecting when he was at Auburn. The Oregon side of Bo Nix is still playing in the NFL, and the amount of experience that he's had from college, both at Auburn and Oregon, prepared him to get thrown right into the wolves. So to see him thrive in what he's doing here has been impressive. He had a good playoff performance against the Buffalo Bills. Unfortunately, broke his ankle in the back, like the last 2 plays of the game or something like that. But Bo Nix, he is a good quarterback. He's not someone I had in the top 10, but again, I understand if people had him in and around the top 10. Would I have had him higher than Trevor Lawrence? Personally, no. Now, if we're talking about Jaden Daniels, probably not either, or Baker Mayfield. I would have Bo Nix probably above Baker Mayfield at this point in time, but Jaden Daniels, just because I know what he can do, and Trevor Lawrence, based off the season he had last year, I have a hard time, ranking Bo Nix as high as that, but, and you look at the top 100 players list, and the top 100 players list it's always good for some controversy. It's always good for some hot takes and stuff like that from players. And it's a consensus thing like we're doing here. But to be 10 spots higher than Lamar Jackson, I think is a little ridiculous. And I understand when Lamar had some injuries last year, but there's not any world where Bo Nix is 10 spots or should be 10 spots higher than Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of quarterbacks that were ranked below Bo Nix that I did not expect to see. But I don't want to sound, this sounds bad because I sound like I'm really burying Bo Nix, really down on Bo Nix. I'm not. I like Bo Nix. I get why people had him in the top 10, but I do think that I think he's good. I think he's a really solid, good quarterback. But I wouldn't have had in the top 10. And then number 14 on this list was someone that Bo Nix was ranked higher than. We'll talk about a few quarterbacks that Bo Nix was ranked higher than in the top 100 list, and that's Brock Purdy, who played 10 games last year before getting subjected to the hellscape that is the electrical transmitter building, or whatever the hell you want to call it, in San Francisco, where everybody just goes to die. Mike Evans has just been subjected to that. And the 49ers right now are building the most insane wide receiver room of all time. You got Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, and then you brought in Deebo Samuel back from the dead. So those are 3 of your receivers. Ricky Pearsall, Lord knows what he's doing. We have, injury-wise, have no idea what's going on there. George Kittle's going to get injured at some point in the year. You got Christian McCaffrey, but he had a healthy year last year, so this means that this year he's probably due for an injury-plagued season. But Brock Purdy, I think that this is the best that I've seen from Brock Purdy. I know he had 10 interceptions last year, and he had 20 touchdown passes. So in a short period of time, he put up decent numbers, but the gunslinging mentality is definitely starting to show from Brock Purdy. This is the Brock Purdy that we saw at Iowa State. Not necessarily the most careful with the football, kind of just trying things, and I like that from Brock Purdy. I want you to try things. And when a receiving core that's injured to hell and back, Jawan Jennings went to the Minnesota Vikings this offseason. You got in Brandon Ayuk. Lord knows what's happening there. So there's a lot of things going against him right now. The offensive line's been injured. Trent Williams isn't getting any younger. George Kittle, we already talked about him. Christian McCaffrey was 6th in the league in receptions last year with 102. Christian McCaffrey was only 40 or something yards away from his second ever 1,000 season. He's one of 3 running backs in NFL history to ever do that. And then he's going to have 2 of them. He was only so much yards away from doing that. That's pretty damn impressive. But Brock Purdy, this season I like from Brock Purdy from an eye test thing more this year than I have in previous years. And I know the numbers you threw 10 interceptions. That's not great in the limited amount of games that you played. But I do like what I saw from Brock Purdy overall. And he was as high as 4 on some of these lists. So people do like themselves some Brock Purdy. Now, I am from the state of Iowa. That tells you a lot right there. It tells you a lot right there. But he was high in this list. But Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. He's good. I kind of put him in the same conversation as Bo Nix, where he doesn't do anything really spectacular, but he's good. And I do think he was coming off a solid season, just eye test wise. He needs to be a little bit more careful with the ball overall this upcoming season, but I did like overall what he did last year in minimal playing time with the injuries that they had at wide receiver as well. The number 13, Jordan Love, is on this list. He was one of the lower quarter. I was expecting Jordan Love to be higher than this, to be honest. I've seen a lot of different rankings from Jordan Love this offseason. You scroll on Google and search quarterback rankings and stuff like that, you'll see a lot of different opinions about Jordan Love, but he's usually not much lower than 10. There might be someone who has him at 11. I saw one list that had him at number 6. Jordan Love, to me, is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. And what was awesome this year, comparatively to those first 2 years as the starter in Green Bay, he cut down on the interceptions. He only had 6 interceptions this past season. He had 11 the past 2 seasons. So to see him cut down on those and make smarter throws, because he can make every throw on the field. He's got what we call arm arrogance. And you see a lot of Aaron Rodgers in him in regards to the throwing off his back foot. He's very confident in what he can do. Now, the anti-Aaron Rodgers is where he starts turning into Brett Favre and tries to throw it in every single window possible. But we saw that dumbed down this past season. And I think Jordan Love and he's the first quarterback that we mentioned on here who I had in my list. I had him at number 9. And I really struggle ranking the NFC North quarterbacks, at least the top 3, the 3 of them anyways. Surprisingly, no spoilers, but surprisingly, 9 did not make this list. I was surprised by that. I was very surprised by that. But the NFC North quarterbacks are just very, very solid quarterbacks. They all hover around that 8, 9, 10 range. But Jordan Love, I thought, would be a little bit higher than this. Talent-wise, I think he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. And the interceptions dumbing down, I think is a good step for him. And I'm excited to see what he can do this year. And number 12 is Sam Darnold, one of the harder quarterbacks to rank, in my opinion. He finished 5th in the NFL in passing yards last year, had 4,000 yards passing, second consecutive 4,000-yard passing season, signed a contract with the Seattle Seahawks this offseason with the Vikings petting their hedges on J.J. McCarthy. And Sam Darnold had some moments last year where like at the beginning of the year, there were people talking about, oh, he's a dark horse candidate. A dark horse MVP candidate, sorry. But then the interceptions started rearing their ugly heads a little bit in those back half games. But then in the playoffs, where everybody, like you looked at the Vikings game last year, but you could kind of say the last 3 games of the season, including the playoff game against the Rams, kind of helped them decide which direction they were going to go at quarterback. And that game against the Rams in the playoffs is like, is he going to do that again this year for the Seahawks? Now, we all know how great the Seattle Seahawks defense is, but can the offense step up to the task? And Sam Darnold more than did that. 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, no turnovers in the playoffs at all for the Seattle Seahawks in general, but Sam Darnold having no turnovers throughout the course of the playoffs is damn impressive. And he was a guy who was ranked as high as 3 on one list. So there's a lot of love for Sam Darnold out there, and the career turnaround that we've seen from him. What we saw with the Jets and the Panthers, to sitting behind Brock Purdy for a year before going to the Vikings and exploding, and then going to the Seahawks and winning a damn Super Bowl. Like, he's the first quarterback of the 2018 class to win a Super Bowl. I don't think a lot of people would have guessed that. Maybe at draft night, maybe the 2018 draft when that was happening, maybe that some people would have expected that, because I think the general consensus on Sam Darnold at that point in time was that he is the best quarterback in the draft. Maybe you get some like Mel Kipers out there would say Josh Allen, but I think the general consensus was it was Sam Darnold was the best quarterback in that draft class. And to see where he was to where he is now is freaking awesome. And I love him now because he's not on the Jets, so I can't hate him anymore. And he wasn't good on the Jets. So I really have had nothing against Sam Darnold ever. I didn't have him though in my top 10, but he was right on the edge of it. He was right on the edge of it, and he's probably the closest, and maybe next to the guy at 11, which is Jared Goff, who are the 2 people that I considered the most for that 10th spot in this list, or 9th or 10th spot in this list. But Jared Goff, on him, is one of the most consistent quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, if you look at the past 4 seasons with the Detroit Lions, 4 consecutive seasons, I believe, 4,400 passing yards. I think there's 3 consecutive seasons of 30-plus touchdowns. He had 29 touchdown passing seasons, first or second year in Detroit, and he cut down on the interceptions. He had 8 interceptions this past year. He had 12 the past 2 seasons. So to see him cut down on that and being the orchestrator of one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Jamison Williams, you have Jahmyr Gibbs in the back, you had David Montgomery back there with one of the better O-lines in football, and the Lions they took a step back, which I think most people would have expected. I mean, you lost your offensive coordinator, you lost your defensive coordinator, you lost some other coaches in and around the staff as well, and you finished 15-2. The only natural there was no progression of going like, oh, they're going to go 16-1, 17-0. It was going to be down. Now, it was 9-8 what the expected was. I think that's what my record prediction was at last year, but that's beside the point. I've never been a really big fan of the Detroit Lions defense, but I would expect them to be not 15-2, but I would expect them to be around the 10-win mark again this year. And Jared Goff, I'm, again, kind of like Sam Darnold, but different, is a guy that you looked at in LA as like, I mean, he was sent to Detroit to die. Like, no other way around it. He was sent to Detroit to die. Like, the Lions at that point in time, Dan Campbell was getting hired, and Dan Campbell just finished his press conference talking about biting off kneecaps. Nobody on social media or anywhere was taking the Detroit Lions seriously. It was like, oh, God, here's one of these guys again. Talking about biting off kneecaps. He's a rah-rah guy. Oh, my God, it's going to be a meme, whatever. And the Lions, they weren't great that first year, but they did surprise some people. They were really good against the spread, if I remember correctly, that first year. But to see Jared Goff go from that to finishing top 5 in MVP 2 seasons ago is just awesome to see. So Jared Goff comes in at 11, but again, him and Darnold were two guys that I really struggled with in regards to putting them in my top 10, if you had him in there, like Jared Goff on one list was high as 2. Like, people do love Jared Goff on there. There's a lot of jerking Goffs out there. So he came in at number 11 and now into the top 10. And number 10, this is what we talk about the NFC North quarterbacks. Caleb Williams comes in at number 10. And to give a little peek behind the curtain, there was only 2 votes separating Caleb Williams, or 2 points, separating Caleb Williams and Jared Goff inside the top 10. And so Caleb Williams, again, sorry to 9 fans out there and Vikings fans, 9 did not make the top 10. So Caleb Williams is the highest ranked NFC North quarterback out there. We had some people ranked him in the top 5. We had some people not even include him in there. Caleb Williams, though, regardless if you love or hate him or whatever, he is one of the single most talented quarterbacks in the NFL. There are some throws that he can make that no other quarterback can even think of making, barring Josh Allen and a healthy Patrick Mahomes. Like, there are some throws that he can do and some things that he do that you just kind of have to rub your eyes and go like, no way did I just see that. No way that actually happened. The first play that comes to mind is that throw against the Green Bay Packers. Rolling out to his left, the Jordan post, throwing a dot down the sideline. The play against the Los Angeles Rams to go to overtime. Like, plays like that just leave your jaw. Like, what the hell did I just watch? Now, the thing with Caleb Williams at this point in time, he's really raw. He's really raw. He didn't have to play in structure a lot at USC. A lot of what he did at USC was on natural talent. And we don't want to coach that out of him. You don't want to get that out of him because this is what got him to this spot. That's what got him a Heisman Trophy. That's what got him to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. But you need him to play in structure and be comfortable in the pocket too. And we saw the growing pains of that this past year. And there's some throws that he makes at the same time that kind of leave you scratching your head. Like, why did you make that throw? Because he's confident. And you want your quarterback to be confident. So if you see some of the wild plays that he makes, I can take some of the turnovers, some of the head against the wall type plays where you're like, why the hell did you do that? Because of the special plays that make me go, oh, you could really be something. Like right now, this is the worst Caleb Williams is going to be. Unless something crazy happens, this is the worst Caleb Williams is going to be. The jump from going from an Eberflus offense, or not an Eberflus offense, who was their offensive coordinator? He was head coach-wise, I guess. Who the hell was their offensive coordinator? Cauldron? Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron. Going from Shane Waldron to Ben Johnson is such an insane jump. And to see that development from year 1 to year 2, he's going to be the Bears' first 4,000-yard passer. I predicted to be last season. He came up just a few yards short of that. He's going to get it this year. He's going to own every single Bears passing record by the time his career is done. And it's just hard not to look at Caleb Williams and go like, dude, you are special. If people are wanting to project going into the season, you want to rank him higher, I would completely understand that. I had him at number 10. I had one spot behind Jordan Love. And I think, like, Jordan Love, the Packers-Bears game, the playoffs, one of the best games of the season last year, if not the best game of the season. Like, that game, people looked at and go like, oh, the Bears won because they had the better quarterback. Jordan Love had 4 passing touchdowns that game, and he posted the highest passer rating out of every single quarterback in the playoffs that year. Like, Jordan Love still balled out in that game. The Packers did not lose that game because of Jordan Love. And I think Jordan Love is a more refined version of what I think Caleb Williams will be better, but I think right now, I think Jordan Love is more refined than Caleb Williams is. I have no doubt that Caleb Williams will surpass him at some point, but right now, I had a hard time thinking that Jordan Love isn't higher than him at this point in time. But number 9 on this list, the quarterback that I think divides more opinions than Caleb Williams, more opinions than anybody else out there, and that's Jalen Hurts of the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Hurts is a Super Bowl MVP, arguably could have won 2 Super Bowl MVPs up to this point in his career, even after losing the first Super Bowl to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, Jalen Hurts has had a damn good career. Like, been to 2 Super Bowls, played really well in both Super Bowls, has very good numbers, finished second in MVP voting a few years ago. Like, Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, but some of the throws he misses and some of the inconsistencies that he has as an overall passer leave a little bit to be desired. We're like, are you that good? And you see all the bitching and moaning for the Philadelphia Eagles players and their offense, how bad their offense is. A.J. Brown getting traded to the Patriots, like he's done with Jalen Hurts. I'm not playing here. We don't like each other, yada, yada, yada. There's so much drama every single year with the Philadelphia Eagles regarding Nick Sirianni, their offense, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, even though he's gone now. There's so much drama around that team. There's no doubt he's one of the greatest running quarterbacks of all time. Like, him and Josh Allen jointly own the all-time single-season rushing touchdown record at 15 for quarterbacks. Like, Jalen Hurts is a great athlete, and he's a good passer. But I didn't have him in top 10. He's not personally my cup of tea, but we've seen people have him as high as 2 in this year's list. There's people that had him at like 6. There's people who didn't have him in their top 10, like me. But he comes in at number 9. I do think, I will say this, even though he's not my personal cup of tea, I do think the hate for Jalen Hurts that he receives is a little overblown. I think it's a little overblown. Like, if you have Jalen Hurts in your top 10, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to sit here and say you're an idiot for having Jalen Hurts in the top 10, but Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback, and he comes in at number 9 on this list. And number 8 is his division rival in Dallas, Dak Prescott, who once again put up fantastic numbers throwing the football. Like, the only reason the Dallas Cowboys last year were even close to making the playoffs was because of Dak Prescott and that passing offense. 3rd in the league in passing yards, and he had 30 passing touchdowns and 10 interceptions, had completed a decently high percentage of his passes in just throwing the absolute piss out of the football. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were otherworldly last year. Like, George Pickens was so awesome, it made people actually sit there and question if George Pickens is actually better than CeeDee Lamb, because we're very reactionary as a people. We're very reactionary. But the only reason they were even close to making the playoffs last year is because of Dak Prescott. That defense is abysmal. That is one of the worst defenses for a team that has stars like that on offense, or great players on offense, that I've seen in a very, very long time. Like, it was a disgrace to call that a defense last year. And it was all built around like, oh, Micah Parsons get traded. They're trying to build the middle of the defense up. And you bring in Malachi Lawrence this offseason. You bring in Caleb Downs via the draft. Like, those are exciting players to bring in the draft. And it's only steps to move in that direction. And I didn't have a lot of faith in Brian Schottenheimer last year. I know he's an offensive coach, but I didn't have a ton of faith in him last year. But Dak, when healthy, objectively, is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And I know, again, he's a very polarizing figure because he's a starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. He makes a lot of money. And the Cowboys don't do a whole hell of a lot of winning anymore. But he is a damn good quarterback. And I had him at number 8. He's going to put up numbers. And we didn't see the playoff numbers this year because they didn't make it. I know he's not the greatest playoff performer of all time, but there was once upon a time he was a second in the MVP behind Lamar Jackson. So the peaks of Dak Prescott are very, very good. And I understand if people don't necessarily like him that much and maybe view his stats as empty. I can get that to a certain extent, but Dak Prescott is just one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And number 7, these next 3 guys I rotated with quite a bit. And number 7 is Justin Herbert, who just came in the NFL Top 100, ranked higher than Joe Burrow. And there was a couple lists, I know there's one off the top of my head, there might have been more, that had Justin Herbert ranked higher than Joe Burrow. I personally didn't have it. Again, I had Justin Herbert number 7. Justin Herbert is one of the most natural throwers of the football that I almost said ever. Maybe ever. The playoff stuff, that he's got to get that monkey off his back at some point. You look at the game against Jacksonville a few years ago where the Jaguars came back. There's a lot to do on that defense side of the ball, but Justin Herbert didn't play great either. You look at the game against Texans 2 years ago. 4 interceptions in that game against the Houston Texans? I know they have a great defense, but to have that much of lay an egg that much when you had 3 interceptions the entirety of the season, that's not ideal. And this year against the Patriots, just didn't really bother showing up. And he played hurt a lot last year behind one of the, if not the worst offensive line in all of football, not just all of football, in the history of football. Like, if you look at some of their PFF grades, and I'm not the biggest, PFF guy, I'm not the biggest fan of their grades, but if you want to look at where they're ranking just as a natural thing, these guys, as starting offensive linemen, are ranked 36th or 37th. There's 32 starters at their position in the NFL, and somehow these guys are ranked below even backups in the NFL. And this is a starting offensive line in the NFL. And to have Greg Roman as the offensive coordinator, I've been behind a Greg Roman offense before. I understand it. And with Justin Herbert, to have Greg Roman there, to go from him to frickin' Mike McDaniel is insane. Mike McDaniel, Justin Herbert, and Ladd McConkey will go absolutely ballistic this year. Justin Herbert's now an engaged man, so congratulations to him. But you look at what Justin Herbert can do and go, this is special. And he put up really good rushing numbers this past year as well. The interceptions were up from the year prior, but I think Justin Herbert, again, is arguably the most natural thrower of football in the NFL at this point in time. But you're going to be very hard-pressed to find anybody not have him in their top 10 quarterback list. But moving on to number 6, a guy who also wears number 10 is Drake May. What's the Drake May, I don't know. But Drake May comes in at number 6. So this is the order I had these guys in. So I had Dak at 8, I had Herbert at 7, I had Drake May at 6. And Drake May is an interesting case because the Patriots were victims of their own success, I guess you could say, because they beat everybody on their schedule. They had a very easy schedule, though. That's the problem. Like, you can only beat what's in front of you, but what's in front of you is basically just Sisters of the Blind or the Blind leading the blind or whatever. Then you kind of get looked down upon when you don't play that great in the playoffs. Now, I will say some of the defenses that the Patriots were going up against on that playoff run were fantastic. Like, the Chargers defense is fine, but then you look at like the Texans defense, the Broncos defense, then you got the Seahawks defense, the Super Bowl. Like, these are some fantastic defense, some of the best defenses in the entire NFL, let alone the snow conditions that we were having in the Denver Broncos game. But Drake May, throwing the ball down the field, might be right now, at least based off last season, had the best season in regards to just pushing the ball down the field. He also put up a good amount of rushing yards as well. I think he had just under 500 rushing yards. But Drake May, with a receiving core that consisted of Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Jalen Polk, who just retired, Hunter Henry, I can't remember who all else was there, but I understand the playoff stuff. I completely understand the playoff situation, but you see some of the plays that he could make throughout the course of the season. I wanted to rank him lower personally because I get in the habit of looking at a rookie season, or not rookie season in this case, it's his second year, but a good season, and just go, oh, he's got to be high. And I do think Drake May deserve it. Second in the MVP, finished one vote behind Matthew Stafford. Now, I do think Matt Stafford was the deserving MVP, but if you think Drake May should have won it, that's perfectly fine. But Drake May, he's the dude. And he was my number one quarterback in that draft class anyway. So I have some connection there. I hate that he plays for the Patriots. I hated when they drafted him, and I hate that he's doing good now. But Drake May, number 6 on this list. Now going to the top 5. Number 5 is Joe Burrow. Sorry, no, it's not Joe Burrow. That was number 5 on my list. Number 5 on this list is Lamar Jackson. And again, we brought this up with Bo Nix. Lamar Jackson battled some injuries last year. The Ravens missed the playoffs. Like, we're going to the next 3 of the next 5 quarterbacks we mentioned, they didn't even make the playoffs this past year. So it's kind of interesting to see how people view that success versus individual success and all that stuff. But Lamar Jackson battled some injuries last year. He still put up decent numbers, and when he was healthy, was still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't really care. There's certain players out there where I don't really care if you have a quote-unquote down year. If I think you're special, I'm going to rank you high. So I had Lamar Jackson ranked 2nd. I think peak Lamar Jackson, like the MVP race a couple years ago between him and Josh Allen, was one of the most fun MVP races I've seen. If I were just talking about on the field stuff, the social media stuff was annoying as hell, and it's still annoying as hell. So to have Lamar Jackson and look at some of these rankings, like see him at number 7 on some lists, not just on these lists, but to see him as low as 7 on some of these national lists, 5 on some of these national lists, it feels really low to me personally. But if you, based on just last season, then fine. And I know Lamar Jackson is not the most conventional quarterback out there. I know he has his playoff success is not there. I mean, if we're just comparing him and Josh Allen like we just did, the amount of playoff games they have played, Josh Allen's played more playoff games. Lamar has more turnovers than Josh Allen, even though Josh Allen's played a decent amount more games than Lamar Jackson. So the playoff stuff's not there. Them not making the playoffs did not help anything. He's not working with the greatest receiving core of all time, but I do like that they brought in Elijah Surratt via the draft, so we'll see how they go there. But yeah, he comes in at number 5. Joe Burrow's at number 4. Joe Burrow's at 4. I usually have him around 4. If we're looking at the big 4, traditional big 4 quarterbacks in the NFL, it's usually Joe Burrow, Lamar, and then 2 guys we'll mention a little bit later. I usually have Joe Burrow ranked last out of them. I don't have any disdain for Joe Burrow, but I just think that the other 3, we've talked about 1, they have special traits. And I don't want to sit here and say Joe Burrow does. I think Joe Burrow's processing, I think his accuracy, I think his timing and touch are really second to none out of a lot of quarterbacks out there. And you look at some of the receivers that they've had with Jamar Chase and T against Jamar Chase, arguably the best receiver in the NFL currently with his LSU teammate in there, and you got the Cowboys guys, and there's other receivers. JSN just won Offensive Player of the Year, Puka Nacua, all that stuff. But Joe Burrow's a damn good quarterback. The health is going to be a problem. The fact the Bengals haven't made the playoffs in 4 years now, 3 or 4 years now, is definitely not helping anything. But Joe Burrow is a good quarterback. Battle some injuries, though. That's another big thing. This NFC North quarterbacks, and these 2 guys, like 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL, can't stay healthy, that's going to receive some knocks. But Joe Burrow, again, there's people that really love Joe Burrow. There were some people I believe had him as high as second in this list. I've seen some nationalists have it at number 3. I had him at number 5. Some people even have Joe Burrow in their list this year, and you can take with that what you will. But Joe Burrow comes in at number 4. Number 3 is Matthew Stafford, the NFL's MVP, who, again, I think rightfully the MVP. It's hard to look past 46 touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and the fact that he led the league in passing yards and say that's not the MVP of the league. And I understand, like, comparatively to, like, oh, he's throwing to Puka Nacua, he's throwing to Devontae Adams, oh, he's working with Kyron Williams in the backfield, oh, he's got Sean McVay as a play caller, oh, look at what Drake May's doing. We already talked about all Drake May stuff. But so he can't win MVP. The 1-yard passing touchdown thing, I understand, like, it's all rage bait on social media engagement, so it's more about what you say. And I know he had a decent amount of touchdowns from that area, but let's not sit here and act like Matt Stafford wasn't tearing it up all throughout the course of the game to get them down to that point, and act like he didn't have passing touchdowns more, this might surprise you, more than 1-yard passing. And Matt Stafford, since coming over the Rams and winning a Super Bowl and winning an MVP and all that stuff, has now, I think we could say comfortably, solidified himself as a future Hall of Famer. I think there was a couple years ago where you just sat back and said no. Like when he won the Super Bowl, there was a lot of people already crowning him Hall of Famer. I was like, let's hold on a little bit, see what more he can do. And to finish this year with an MVP. And you could see a reality where he goes back-to-back MVPs, because the Rams right now are, depending on who you ask, the overwhelming favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. With all the moves that they've made this offseason, bringing in Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald's potentially coming back, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, all these guys, like, they're going to be one of the front runners, if not the number one front runner in the NFL. So there's a real chance that Matt Stafford wins a second MVP. And then we're having some very interesting conversations on social media. Some very interesting conversation. But Matt Stafford comes in at 3. I had him at number 3. And the number 2 is Patrick Mahomes, who Patrick Mahomes is, if you just look strictly at his numbers across the past 2 or 3 years, it's not the same numbers that we have seen from Patrick Mahomes in the early portions of his career. Like, they're still winning games. But some of these games, like you look at 2 years ago, and I know that we're talking about this year, but 2 years ago, the Chiefs went 16-1 or 15-2 or whatever, 16-1, 15-2. I can't remember what their exact record was. But you see that record. They scored 20 points, more than 20 points, this many times in the regular season. They scored over 20 points this many times in the playoffs. And of course, it had to be against the Buffalo Bills. It just had to be. The only time they scored more, no, it was more than 30 points. Sorry, catch myself. More than 30 points. And it was against the Bills, because of course it was. Why would it not be? Why would it not be? Why would the only time he can't score more than 30 points in a game, or can score 30 points a game, why would it not be against the Buffalo Bills? It just has to be. But Patrick Mahomes, legacy-wise, is a top 5 quarterback of all time. Top 3, even. Like, his legacy is cemented. Coming off a torn ACL, we'll see how he does there. He's looked good in early portion of training camp right now, or in this, like, prior to preseason. He's got the big leg brace on right now. The Chiefs missed the playoffs this year. Their offense is far less explosive than it has been in previous years. The receiving core that they have is pretty much just non-existent. Rashee Rice doesn't know if he wants to be a receiver or whatever you want to call it, what he's doing outside of the football field. Xavier Worthy has not really panned out the way I think they expected him to. Like, I think everybody, including myself, when the Chiefs traded up with the Bills to select Xavier Worthy, it was like, oh God, they just gave him another Tyreek Hill. Of course he goes to Kansas City Chiefs, the most Kansas City Chiefs player in the draft. And of course he goes there. So to see that kind of hurt, and the Bills gave it to him. They gave him to him. It's like we just gave him a weapon to hurt us. This isn't fun. And the receiving core, again, is just not there. Kelsey's getting older, but that's expected. So the offense isn't as, like, high-powered as it once was. But to think Patrick Mahomes still can't produce moments of magic is kind of crazy at the same time. His numbers might not be there. They might not be the same Patrick Mahomes numbers that we're used to, but he's still got that unnatural talent in there. I had him at number 4 because, I mean, like I talked about before, Matt Stafford MVP, Lamar Jackson, the season that he had a few years ago. I know he was injured last year. And Josh Allen, number 1, obviously. And Josh Allen, and I can't, you guys can't even be mad at me for being biased, because of course I had him at number 1. I've had Josh Allen number 1 on my list forever. And he came in number 1 last year. He was the number 1 ranked quarterback in this list last year. Back-to-back years of him, but this year was kind of cemented. He finished top place on 18 of 22 22 lists on this. The only other 2 people to receive first place votes were Matthew Stafford and Patrick Mahomes, so the guys who finished second and third. Josh Allen finished second, I think, twice or three times, and then third place once. So Josh Allen is kind of just unanimously, and you look at like the coaches and all that stuff, you look at the ESPN stuff, the PFF stuff, all that stuff, it's kind of unanimous that Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. And I know there's going to be people out there like, well, what has Josh Allen done to do that? He hasn't won any Super Bowls. He lost to the Denver Broncos, the easiest playoff run he could ever had. But the thing is, Josh Allen gets more shit for that than the likes of Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes for missing the playoffs. Now, Patrick Mahomes is in rarefied air, so Patrick Mahomes gets a pass. But no one's really shitting on the other two for missing the playoffs. But Josh Allen making the playoffs and losing the Denver Broncos the way they did is that, oh, now we got to clown on Josh Allen. And were the turnovers good? No. That fumble right before halftime is one of the dumbest turnovers I've ever seen in my entire life. I still have no idea what the thought process was on that. And Josh Allen, again, 4 turnovers in that game, or 3 turnovers, whatever. Was it 3 interceptions, 1 fumble, or 2 interceptions, 1 fumble? I can't remember exactly. I tried to put that game out of my head. But the only reason they were in that game to begin with was Josh Allen. Like those moments of magic that you get, like I was kind of talking about with Caleb Williams before. I can take the turnovers. I can take it. I've said this his entire career. And any quarterback that's like that, and I've said this in videos in the past too on other quarterbacks, I will take the turnovers if you're still producing. And no one produces more at a more consistent level than Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 5 years in a row, finished with 40 or more touchdowns. 5. It would have been 6 this year, which 5 was already an NFL record. He would have had 6 this year, but he had 39. And an offense that is predicated on screen passes, like they're running an offense that has Tua Tagovailoa at quarterback or something. Like this is Josh freaking Allen. Like you have the freaking Bison back behind center. You got to let this thing loose. And I hope Joe Brady, as the head coach this year, lets Josh Allen go supernova this year. I want to see Josh Allen go ballistic this year. Mentally, I don't know if he was in a great spot last year. They talking about his grandma told him to smile during the games. Like Josh Allen needs to get hit in the mouth. Josh Allen needs to talk shit. And yeah, when it's all set, when he's playing at a consistent level, he's the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none. He's finished top 5 in the MVP voting each of the last 5 seasons. No other quarterback's done that. He's the only quarterback on this list who has not missed significant time due to injury. Josh Allen's also have a consecutive start streak, and he started 1 game. He plays 1 snap the last week of the season, back-to-back years. So his per-season numbers are actually worse because he wants to continue that start streak. So if you want to do that, we could go well, if he doesn't even play, he plays 1 snap in that game and his numbers get worse. What would happen if he actually played in those games? Like the game against the Patriots 2 years ago, against the Jets last year. Plays 1 snap, goes out. So we got to see him in the red helmets. So that was cool. But then he goes out. Like Josh Allen is, again, I think it's pretty unanimous, the best quarterback in the NFL. And before you say it, again, what's the thing that got him above Patrick Mahomes? Like Tom Brady's entire career, you did not rank Tom Brady as the best quarterback in the NFL. And you think Aaron Rodgers is the greatest quarterback of all time, you didn't have Aaron Rodgers ranked number 1 his entire career either. Like we're not talking about legacy. We're not talking about overall success. Patrick Mahomes, again, if we're going off that, is undoubtedly the number 1 quarterback in this list. But we're not. We're going off recent stuff, the stuff that's happening right now. And right now, Josh Allen is unequivocally, unquestionably, undoubtedly the best quarterback in the NFL, bar none. And 18 out of 22 people agree. Or I guess 17 out of 21 people agree, because I can't include myself in that. But regardless, that is the TLBS staff quarterback rankings for the 2026 season. So we'll go through all the rankings again. So we have Baker Mayfield and Jaden Daniels tied at 17. Then we have Trevor Lawrence at 16, Bo Nix at 16, Brock Purdy at number 14, Jordan Love at 13, number 12 is Sam Darnold, Jared Goff at number 11, top 10 reads Caleb Williams, then Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Drake May, then you got Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Matt Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, and Joshua Patrick Allen rounding out the top 10. Again, I will link the blog post down there below so you can see everybody's list. My top 10, I'll put that on screen right now. So I had Josh Allen at number 1, I had Lamar at 2, Matt Stafford at 3, Mahomes 4, Joe Burrow 5, then Drake May 6, Herbert 7, Dak 8, then Jordan Love 9, and Caleb Williams at number 10. I won't air out anybody else. I want to air out anybody else's list. I don't think there was any, I'm not going to blast anybody on here. I'm not going to do that. But I hope you guys enjoyed. And leave your top 10 list down in the comment section below. And if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. But if you didn't, leave a comment down below on why you feel the way you do. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel. Here's the numbers again for you. Check out all the links down in the description below, especially the blog post on LoganBlackmanShow.com. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that great stuff. Check it all out. I've been Logan Blackman, of course. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. Try better next time. And I will see you guys later. Peace.